Welcome to the Unlocking the Club podcast, where we host honest and direct conversations about journeys of access, personal truth, and reclaiming space. We share our truth so that you can find the key to own your truth, honor your journey, and reclaim your space. Grab your keys, your wallet, your phone, and invite your friends to meet you at the club. Here's your host, Angela Taylor.
Hello again, I'm Angela Taylor, your host for Unlocking the Club. And today I actually want to shine the light on Cherie Buckner-Webb, who was one of our previous show guests and a leader, mentor, amazing community leader for me here in Boise, Idaho, and an amazing soul who continues to model grace and leadership in so many ways. I talked on the last episode a little bit about those God winks. Right? Those things that show up for us when we most need them. Well, I just started reading Michelle Obama's book, The Light We Carry. I suggest you all get a copy as soon as you can. It just came out about a week ago. And she dedicates the book to all of those who use their light to make sure that others feel seen. I'll say that again. In Michelle Obama's book, The Light We Carry, she dedicates it to all of those who should use their light to make sure that others feel seen. And there's a great excerpt on the back of the book. I'm just going to read that real quick. That as I was reading it, it reminded me of so many different people, but it was reinforced today when I literally, before I started recording today's episode, had an amazing phone call from Cherie Buckner-Webb. But on the back of Michelle Obama's book, she says, "I've learned it's okay to recognize that self-worth comes wrapped in vulnerability, and that what we share as humans on this earth is the impulse to strive for better, always and no matter what. We become bolder in brightness. And if you know your light, you know yourself. You know your own story in an honest way." In my experience, this type of self-knowledge builds confidence, which in turn breeds calmness and an ability to maintain perspective, which leads finally to being able to connect meaningfully with others. And this, to me, is the bedrock of all things. One light feeds another. One strong family lends strength to more. One engaged community can ignite those around it. This is the power of the light we carry. And as we are here in the holiday season, I think it's really important to think about those things. One strong family lends strength to more. One engaged community can ignite those around it. How can we show up for our friends, our family, our community in really powerful ways? And Cherie Buckner-Webb modeled that for me today. Out of the blue, I received a phone call from Cherie, and she simply said that she's been thinking about me and that she wanted me to know that she knows that my mother would be proud of me as she is up in heaven, and proud of me because of all the things that Cherie is proud of me for, as she's seen our podcast and some of the other work that I'm doing with the Dignitas Agency in our community to impact and influence change. And she went on to talk about a lot of different things that, obviously she had a very strong mother that we talked about during her episode, and father, and wanted to make sure that she used her platform, as she does so gracefully, to empower others to continue on the journey that they're on. Because so often, sometimes we question the work that we're doing, and we're not quite sure if it's hitting the way that we want it to hit. And we had a beautiful conversation. I'm so grateful to it for many reasons. She said she didn't want to have a sappy conversation with me, but as we talk about our mothers and the influence that they had on us and our desire to make them proud in every moment and activity that we encounter and endeavor, it was really touching for us to be able to be in that conversation. And I received it, again, as I've talked on the show, with the gratitude that it deserves. And I think that we can all learn from those moments, and we can certainly learn from the messages that Miss Obama is sharing in her book, The Light We Carry. As we're thinking about the holiday season, like, who are some of the people in your life that you can send a text to, or a phone call, or invite for a cup of coffee, or just have a short conversation with them over some apple cider? Who is someone in your life that you can let them know that you see them, that you see the value that they're bringing in the grand gestures that they're making and in the simple things that they're doing on a daily basis? I think we can learn a lot from the messages, right, that Michelle has in her book, To All Those Who Use Their Light to Make Sure That Others Feel Seen. And the moment that mattered for me greatly with Cherie Buckner-Webb simply picking up the phone and giving me a call and letting me know that she sees what I'm doing, she appreciates it, and she knows that my mother would be proud. That was certainly a God wink. I think that we all have the power to create more of those God winks for those around us. And I think that we'll be better off. These are difficult times, and the holidays can be really stressful and overwhelming for so many people. So I encourage you, if you have a moment this holiday, think about somebody, perhaps somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, or someone who's going through a difficult time, and pick up the phone and send a text or give them a call. And it'll be a really powerful way to use the light that you carry. We're going to talk a little bit more about someone with a lot of light who is shining it brightly in a myriad of different ways on today's episode. Our special guest on today's episode of Unlocking the Club is Nicole Ellis. Today on Unlocking the Club, I will be joined by Nicole Ellis. Nicole is a vegan food and travel vlogger and a consultant. She has traveled to 29 countries across 6 continents and 49 states. After choosing a vegan lifestyle about 2.5 years ago, Nicole dishes up some delicious vegan recipes on her YouTube channel, Nikki's Savory Eats, an enterprise that also includes meal prep for customers. Thanks for tuning in as we unlock the club today with Nicole Ellis. Nicole, welcome to Unlocking the Club. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Angela, and yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. Much better that we get a chance to connect. I know that we've been interacting for several years. And I think that we first got a chance to get to know each other prior to COVID, maybe in 2017, 2018, when you came to Boise, Idaho for a visit. I believe your first visit to Boise, and you actually took my tour with Indulge Boise Food Tours.
I did, and I loved every bit of it.
And it sounds like that was around the time that you started one of your ventures, and I would love for you to share with our audience. We heard a little bit about what the work that you're doing, but would love to hear more about all of the things that you're working on these days.
Most definitely. So to piggyback from where you left off, Angela, we met in 2018. You were a food tour operator, and it was phenomenal. And at that time, Boise, Idaho, I had to cross out Idaho as one of the states I wanted to accomplish. So one of my goals is to visit all 50 states as a travel blogger. And I have visited now 49 states. So I have just one left, which is Alaska.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So just going to Boise, Idaho, and that experience, it opened up so many doors on my website, Nikki's Savory Travels. People did not have any idea what Boise had to offer. So I've been a travel blogger actually since 2017. And as you mentioned in the introduction, now I've visited 29 countries across 6 continents and 49 states. So just being able to share my journey with people through my lens has been always important to me in that regard. So that's one of the things that I'm continuously working on is my travel. And we can talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. The second thing is, yes, I'm a vegan food YouTuber. So I went vegan 2.5 years ago. And prior to the pandemic, I had some health issues in a sense of, I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, but I live in Las Vegas now. So I used to go skiing in Chicago quite a bit for 5 years. And the 5th year, I actually tore 2 meniscus in my right knee. And I have a hyperextended knee to which it bends backward beyond the range of motion. So with that, I had a lot of weight on me. At that time, I was like a size 22, and I had to take on a knee scope surgery, then get physical therapy. The doctor simply said, Nikki, you need to lose the weight. It kind of went through one ear and out the other, Angela. So, I love to eat. I was passionate about that, and I was just being pretty much stubborn about it. Fast forward, my husband and I moved to Las Vegas in 2017. And in 2018, I took a solo trip to Spain and Morocco. 2 days later,
I'm so jealous, by the way.
What's that?
I'm so jealous. Spain and Morocco, those are definitely goals. Morocco. I lived in Spain for a little bit. Morocco is certainly on my bucket list.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm sure you'll be able to get back to it. As you know, Morocco is right next door to Spain on the Africa continent. It was beautiful. And 2 days later, I come back and I passed out on our bathroom floor.
Oh my
So
God.
we went to the hospital, went to the emergency room, only to find out I needed to have emergency surgery because I had 7 gallstones that were inflamed in my gallbladder, Angela,
Oh my
and
God.
they were about to burst. So it's quite possible I may not have been here today if that wasn't taken care of. When the pandemic hit 2 years ago, I heard a quiet voice telling me that I needed to change my eating habits. And then there was those pre-existing health conditions where people were transitioning left and right at the brink of the pandemic. I got scared. I simply got scared. And I decided to make a change, a quiet change internally, to which I didn't even discuss with my husband. And I decided I wanted to try going vegan for 30 days because from what I had researched about veganism, I just thought it can't hurt to try to omit meat from my diet and dairy.
Yeah.
And when I tried to do it within 30 days, it was the best I had ever felt in my entire life. And I figured, you know what? I feel like I'm onto something here. And I decided to go vegan. And one day my husband's in the kitchen is like, I have like a little vegan chef right before my very own eyes.
Lucky.
And the rest is history.
Mm. So we have to unpack this. There's so many things that I want to cover with you today. Being a Black woman who is a journalist, who is traveling to these exotic lands, who has your own business, who has made the choice proactively to become vegan. I think there's so many things that I want to get curious about. But as you talk about the decision to become vegan, you said that the first 30 days, it was the best you had ever felt. Give me a little bit more detail there, because I've heard that from others and I don't have a context for what that actually means on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, most definitely. So what that entails is prior to going through this experimentation for 30 days, I was experiencing a lot of inflammation in my body, and particularly around my joints, my ankles, my knees, my fingers. And then I was experiencing a lot of swelling in the body. When I actually omitted the meat and dairy for 30 days, the swelling went down, I would say, like within a week. And I was detoxing in the process. And then I was able to walk better. Okay. That was another thing I noticed. And I had more energy. I wasn't sluggish. And my digestive system was quite active, Angela. So
It was good all around.
all around.
Yeah, well, and I think many of us, right, as we continue to age, we do get these messages from our medical team, right, that we need to pay attention to our diets. And so often people point to one thing or another. But I think now, on the heels of, we just had Thanksgiving, and we're heading into the holiday season where there's a lot of holiday parties, and people are gifting cookies and cakes and just the extravagance of what is going to be on our menu over the next few days and weeks, leading into our New Year's resolutions where we all will start eating healthy, working out on a regular basis. But I'm curious for you, like, what was the catalyst? I know you came home, you had a really dire medical report, right, with the gallstones. But what was it that triggered your decision to make this completely challenging and difficult choice to become vegan?
So in the same year that I actually had the gallbladder surgery, there was another saga that continued out. In July 2020, I ended up in the hospital unexpectedly. We thought I had COVID. I was working from home. I'm a certified career consultant by day. And on screen, just like we are now, I put up the smile. I was very professional with my clients, and I was maintaining a temperature of 103.5 for 2 weeks and didn't tell anyone but my husband. I was ashamed because I was thinking, do I have COVID? It was one of those things that you didn't want to tell people. And then when I would get off the camera in between my breaks, I would go lay down. I had a fever. I was sweating. I had the chills. My body ached. I had all the symptoms of COVID-19. So in the second week, which was very dangerous, I literally was about to pass out, and I was told that I was actually about to transition. My complexion actually turned from brown to gray. I had dark purple coloration over my eyelids. And when my mom saw me on video, she told my husband, please take her to the hospital. I can hear my heart beating. So we get to the hospital, and they thought I had COVID. The nurses, doctors, they put me on the COVID-19 wing. Everyone's wearing their PPE. They took 2 tests. I did not have COVID. I had some type of viral infection where my white and red blood cells were at war with each other, and they were attacking my organs in the process, to which 5 of my organs were about to shut down. And in the middle of the night, I am a woman of faith, Angela. So in the middle of the night at the hospital where my husband couldn't come in the room, it was very lonely. I literally just called out and cried out to God. And I simply said, if you get me out of this, and I apologize if I get teary-eyed because it's very emotional and near and dear to me.
Yes.
But I said, if you get me out of this, and if you remove the pain from my body, I promise I will start this YouTube channel that you've been nagging me about for the past few weeks, God.
Wow.
And that's exactly what the deal breaker was. That's what changed everything for me, Angela, from that point on. Because in the middle of the night, into the morning, my vitals changed. The pain removed itself. I had energy. The nurses were like, your vitals going up, everything's turning around. It was just like late in the midnight hour, a miracle was taking place. And I knew it was God. I had lost about 12 pounds being in the hospital for about a week. And I kept my word. So literally, I got out of the hospital in July. My birthday was in August. September 7th, 2020, I started my YouTube channel. I didn't look back. My health, it wasn't a question. It wasn't. It's more about, it wasn't even about me, okay? It was about a purpose that I had to fulfill. And that's where I am today.
Fulfilling a huge purpose. And I love just the look on your face. But I get curious, right? A moment ago, you were very emotional and you thought back to, 2+ years ago and the journey that hadn't yet begun. Today, you've turned the corner, right? You've recovered, you're doing well, you're flourishing, your health is on the right path. You started this channel. What is the emotion around right now as you're thinking about the journey that you've been on?
It's been amazing. It's a confirmation that this is more about me. It is about to fulfill a purpose so that I actually am being used to touch the people that God sees fit, because so many doors have opened in the past 2 years since I've maintained my vegan brand, Angela. I've been on a plethora of podcast interviews in the past 2 years. I have literally been invited to so many different restaurants. I have, basically broken bread with chefs. I have traveled to different cities and countries, just now coming back from Europe. I have received so many direct messages from people from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube telling me how I am helping them change their lives, how they are viewing vegan food differently, and how they had no idea how fun and interesting it is. Keep the recipes coming, Nikki. You're an inspiration. You're motivating. So when I feel discouraged and when I feel like those numbers, the algorithms are not up to par through those social media platforms, my viewers and followers are what keeps me going, Angela, because of all the affirmations. And just when I don't even think I'm making a difference is when people are coming out the woodwork telling me you're making a difference. So that's what keeps me going, to say this is not about you. You're helping someone, even if it's just one person in the process.
Yes, you are making a difference. I'm sitting here listening to you and your story and saying, a short time ago, about a little less than a year ago, my doctor said, hey, your cholesterol is a little bit higher than we want it to be. It's still fine, right? But it's getting a little higher. You have, high blood pressure and hypertension in your family. Let's see what we can do. And I didn't want to go on, right, any drugs or prescriptions. I wanted to try to figure out how to do it a natural way. And so I met with a nutritionist. And the first time before I met with a nutritionist, I thought, okay, I love carbs. I eat carbs all the time, pastas, rices, bagels, muffins, just like I crave carbs 24 hours a day, cereal. And so let me cut out some of the carbs. And I went back and the numbers had changed a little bit, but not significantly. So I went to see a nutritionist and she said, you know what? For a week, I followed my diet and meal plan, right? Tracked that, shared it with her. And she said, it's dairy, right? It's the dairy. I love cheese. I can stop. Friends know that I stopped eating French fries for about a decade. I stopped eating chocolate for about 7 years on 2 bets. Right? They didn't think I could go without chocolate for a week. I went 7 years. They didn't think I could go without fries for a week. I went 10 years. But cheese, I could never do. And it changed my mind. Like dairy has been a thing, like, cereal with my milk, ice cream, cheese, like all of those subtle little things. And if I didn't listen, the first time I was like, I'm going to try a little bit. But as I'm listening to you, I need to actually hunker down and listen to my doctor and change my lifestyle if I want to continue to flourish and be able to pursue my dreams and my passion. So you're having an impact already today on one individual. And I guarantee you and hope that those that are listening to this podcast, right, in the first 10 minutes of our conversation are impacted by you as well. But I want to go back to the shame that you felt when you talked about not wanting to let people know that you weren't feeling well with 100-degree plus temperature, right? And all the symptoms that were going along with that. I think that shows up a lot for Black women in particular, where there's shame. There's a lot of different feelings that we conflate, where we won't let people know how we're truly feeling. Mm-hmm. Whether we're joyous or if we are overwhelmed or stressed or fearful. How has that shown up in your life? Not just around your health, but how has shame prevented you from actually asking for what it is that you need or naming what you're actually going through?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, Angela, we grew up in our households, especially if you're coming back from a Southern tradition. My grandmother's from the South, and it's one of those things where you just don't talk about certain things. You don't let people know. You don't let people know what's going on in your household. Is taboo. Okay. I'm cut from a different cloth. I'm a Generation X, and I'm cut from a different cloth. I definitely have grown up with that type of perception, but now it's actually, I've mitigated through it because I feel like it's been suffocating me not to be able to be in my full authenticity, full genuinity of a person. So when I have actually in the past been the type of person to be ashamed to share, like, for example, I had 103.5 temperature. That came from because I was traveling during, the brink of the pandemic when I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to be indoors like everyone else. I was doing things I wasn't supposed to. So I was afraid that people were going to talk about me, to say, well, that wasn't responsible, especially being a travel vlogger. I have a social media responsibility, I feel like, to a degree. And so it wasn't a good practice on my end. But what I decided to do, it was more so during the podcast interviews, is to disclose to people that I was going through, and these were, the consequences behind it. What I have learned in life, just from working in corporate America or anything else, is that I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes until the end, until I die. Okay. I feel like the reason I am successful today is partially because of my failures. No one goes through life, including Benjamin Franklin, as many times as he probably got zapped through lightning with a kite. No one goes through life just to show up to say, hey, I'm successful 24/7. So I feel like there's more people that actually are out there wanting to look up to someone to say, it's okay. It's okay if I fail. It's okay if you fall down and get back up. So when I realized that for corporate America, for my travel blog, so basically during the pandemic, I felt like also my travel blog wasn't as unique. My niche wasn't as unique, Angela. It was overly saturated with a lot of travel blogs, and I had to reinvent the wheel for Nicole. I had to find out, how can I make myself unique enough and stand out apart? When I decided to go vegan and to add that to my niche, it put me in a different niche, if you will. So I had to reinvent myself. And one thing that so many people near and dear to me, loved ones and friends, have said is that one thing about you is that you're not afraid to fail and to try again and to reinvent the wheel. You keep going. You don't let it get you down for long. You let it get you down. You cry about it. You curse about it. You go through, you get a little depressed, and then you come back, because that's what life is all about.
That's amazing, Nicole. I hear you saying that you aren't afraid to fail and try again, and that people start to notice that in you. And I point to something that I think shows up quite often for all humans, but specifically the thing that I'm interested in unpacking is for Black women, is attached to and adjacent to this fear for us and hesitancy to share or show up in a certain way is the fear of judgment, of being judged by others. And so I heard, as you were talking about not wanting to report out that you had 103.5 degree temperature, was people judging you about, are you honoring the rules and what you should be doing? And I think that that shows up a lot with many of us, where we may choose to not show up boldly because people may judge us as, an aggressive, Black woman, or they may judge us in a variety of different ways. And I wonder, becoming vegan in the Black community, has there been any hesitancy around that judgment? Again, we're right on the heels of some of the holidays where we are consuming a lot of delicious fare, right? And I know for a lot of friends and family, I have friends from family from the Texas area, and every time we go down there, like, just my diet is completely different than it is on a normal basis. But you want to consume those things because they've been handed down from generation to generation, and it's honoring our family in so many different ways. And the food is simply delicious. But is there a fear for you of promoting vegan living and lifestyles of judgment from the Black community?
Not at all. That's a great question, but not at all. So to your point about going down to Texas, I went to Houston back in September, this past September, to celebrate my mother's birthday. And I went down there vegan, Angela. Okay. And so prior to that, I had researched all the savory vegan eats to check out, where I actually identified some savory vegan barbecue, soul food, because one of the things is that whether people want to say it's a trend or more Black people or people of color are just becoming more cognizant about it, is that they are becoming more cognizant about their health. It could be because of the pandemic. It could be because they lost a lot of loved ones, but also they want to be able to check themselves with their health. So a lot more people are curious. And because they've actually started tasting vegan foods that kind of remind them of flavors and, foods from back home. So there's a certain nostalgia. So they now realize we do eat more than rabbit food. We eat more than just carrots and lettuce. We can reinvent, and you can change and veganize different dishes. So I do not move with trepidation from the Black community about being vegan because of Southern or family traditions. I respectfully understand where it comes from the old spiritual Negroes to our ancestors. I get it and I respect it. But at the same time, because we've had so many health issues and physical ailments in different situations, it's all about how do we circumvent through that? How do we overcome so that we can actually live our best lives and thrive? It's about education. You can still eat healthy, but still have a touch of soul in the food. That's it, a touch of soul in the food, and still be near and dear to your roots and your traditions. So without hesitation, especially if someone asks me, I'm going to share it, especially because I'm receiving a plethora of responses from the Black communities about how did you turn, jackfruit into vegan ribs? How did you turn banana blossoms into vegan fried catfish, which is one of my highest performing videos on YouTube, 27,000 hits, I believe.
Wow.
From customers. So when people know that the flavors are there, and then my customers, they're constantly buying from me in Las Vegas, Angela, to say, I love your vegan fried catfish, and their eyes are rolling in the back of their head. That's translating to me that the flavor is still there. Yes. The flavor is still there, and it doesn't have to go away, but it's in a healthier way. So I am going to expect to receive some type of flack, some type of foot pushback. Some people saying, I love my chicken, I don't want to go vegan. And I get it, to each his own. But I'm going to continuously be used to know that this platform is, again, not about me from a spiritual standpoint, and to continue going out to educate where those like-minded individuals want to listen.
Well, you were following and listening to that God wink that you received when you were in the hospital, in the bed, and you said a prayer and you let God know that you were going to start your YouTube channel. And again, you will continue to have an impact where we have a taste of soul in vegan food. And as you're talking, it reminds me, again, I grew up here in Idaho, and I don't really like seafood. And a good friend of mine who was a chef and had an Asian fusion specialty told me, Angela, one of the reasons why you don't like seafood, because I mentioned to him texture and the taste, or the smell, the fishiness. And he's like, because you weren't receiving fresh food, fresh fish to cook. And there's a big difference. And I think that same concept is relative for vegan food. for the tour. We started a vegan tour right before COVID because there were more vegan restaurants popping up in downtown Boise's corridor. And one of the things I continued to talk to chefs about was they wanted to demonstrate that it isn't just taking away the bad stuff off of a plate of food or out of a recipe that you have so that there is no flavor. It is curating these amazing dishes using some ingredients that people don't know a lot about, but that are delicious and fresh and healthy for you. And so what I'm hearing from you and what I can't wait to do is to go to your channel and try out some of your recipes to have that taste of soul and flavor in some of the dishes that are also healthy.
Yeah, most definitely. And thank you, Angela. I think that's just what it's all about. And something you mentioned kind of made me chuckle. You being from Idaho, living in Idaho, I'm thinking, how does she get away or escape eating potatoes for 10 years?
I know carbs, potatoes. I ate carbs all my life.
This is true. I understand. I just came back from Italy, and because I was on vacation, I did not beat myself up, but I had vegan carbonara and vegan pasta when I was in Rome. So yeah, get it.
One of my new favorites is cauliflower mashed potatoes, like, right? So delicious. Again, some of the same flavors, you wouldn't really know it. And some of my family, when I cooked it a couple years ago for the first time, they didn't know it was cauliflower. So there's some subtle things that you can do. And what I try to do is just like 1 or 2 new flavors at a time and not overwhelm those that may be judging or reluctant to want to try a completely new diet. But it is something I'm listening to our conversation today. It's definitely something that I'm going to have to jump into with both feet and embrace so that we can be healthy moving forward. I want to talk a little bit about in the vegan community. It feels to me that you literally are unlocking the club, because I wouldn't associate vegan cooking and vegan enjoyment with a Black woman, right? And those that are journaling about it, those that are traveling and looking for it, those that are creating a channel. Are you unlocking the club around vegan food? And how does that feel?
I love just that analogy, Angela, how it goes with your platform. So I would say that I'm doing my part as far as unlocking the club, but of course I didn't start it. So there are a lot of actual, a handful, I should say, of reputable Black vegan travel bloggers, not vegan bloggers out there on Instagram that actually have been in existence prior to me. And of course, including Tabitha Brown. But there are a lot of women that have been around, actually been vegan 15, 20 years. And then they're on Instagram making these phenomenal recipes to which I follow, admire. And I get basically my inspiration from some of their recipes. There's a smaller space for, vegan women that are African American, but we're there and we exist. So I think that we all have a great responsibility, whether you're vegan, you're plant-based, to be able to share out where you see fit and where it makes sense. But I think I'm doing my part as far as unlocking the club, sharing in my community. So I went vegan in Las Vegas. There's a nice, vegan community here, and a handful of Black vegan influencers to which, we do go and support one another and get the word out about veganism. So I'm always that type of individual to be able to talk about it if it's a health and wellness club. And then what goes hand in hand about that is it's not just for me eating right, but it's also exercise. And so I try to exercise a couple of times a week because it's not even about losing the weight. It's a stress reliever. I love working out. Whereas 10 years ago, if you asked me to go to the gym, I would probably laugh in your face, So I love it.
That's wonderful. And I'm curious, a lot of the theme around conversations we have on this podcast with our guests when we think about unlocking the club, particularly in the corporate space, is that early on in our career, we were working so hard and so diligently to try to get into that club. And later on in our career, we realized it wasn't a club that we actually wanted to be in or would ever be invited into, frankly. And now the challenge and the opportunity was to create our own club. So around the things that you're doing, from traveling, being a travel vlogger, being a voice in the vegan community, how are you unlocking the club or creating your own club?
That's very powerful. So I've grown up in corporate America for 20 plus years. Since I was 16, I worked in the financial services district downtown Chicago. So I have been submerged into the corporate culture, Angela. My mother, basically was a vice president within the financial services institution. So I've known about all the different corporate gangs, the blackballing, everything that becomes mentally exhausting and depleting. So now I'm a consultant where it's kind of like, I'm an independent contractor, which I can come and go as I please. I do my job and then I go home. I have been in leadership roles. I have been a manager, Angela. I can check that off my list and then I can keep it moving. So now, so
That's right.
now unlocking the club to let people know this is what I do. And this is basically what I convey as a consultant. So my colleagues, they know I'm vegan. They know I'm an influencer, and they know that this is my truth. They know that this is what is important and a part of who I am. So in order for me to be great at what I do during my daytime hours, I have to have that balance. I have to tap into the vegan community. I have to have the balance of travel because you're going to take away the originality of who Nicole Ellis is and why I exist. So just tying that back into what you mentioned, I feel like I'm unlocking my own club to say that you can be a professional. You can still take ownership of your health, but you can be an entrepreneur on top of that and not be afraid, because entrepreneurship sometimes leads into sole entrepreneurship to when you actually get a little snippet of it, it's just only the beginning stage to say that this is what you need to do, full time. So I'm tapping into these different platforms to say that I'm great at what I do during the daytime from the God-given talents that he has given me, but also I'm great at being able to be a vegan chef, home chef, to meal prep for people. And actually, on the professional side, Angela, if being a certified career consultant, we talk about professional and personal development. So with a lot of my clients, guess what? When they find I'm a vegan food YouTuber, they are supporting my platforms. They are actually telling me, I actually made your recipe and it was delicious. And today, Nikki, I want to spend 15 minutes talking about health and wellness and veganism. So it kind of actually goes hand in hand.
It definitely goes hand in hand. And as you're speaking, it reinforces for me, I think many of us have creativity and innovation in our blood. I think everyone does. And sometimes early on, we get the messages from the system that you aren't creative if you don't do this or you don't have that idea. And so I believe for myself, I was always an entrepreneur at heart, but I was risk averse. I just needed to get a job that was going to pay the bills and allow me to live the lifestyle that I wanted. But later on, probably mid-career, I was frustrated with corporate America because I didn't feel like I was seen. My ideas weren't heard, or if they were heard, somebody else was stealing the ideas, right? The value that as a Black woman, I felt or did not feel in the workplace didn't meet my expectations or my needs, frankly. And
Mhm.
I think it was those same feelings. And I was seeing other folks that were navigating corporate America much more strategically and successfully than I was because they had more social capital than I did at that particular time. But I also think that there's some systems and there's some structures that want to prevent thriving people, particularly of color,
Mhm.
from reaching like the higher echelon of different organizations. And that's when I started to tap into the entrepreneurship bug that I had. And so I wonder for you, how much of your understanding through your mom's corporate career, how much of your understanding of what that was like fueled your desire to be an entrepreneur?
I would say there was a high percentage actually, just from watching what my mom had to endure and encounter, and the different type of mind games. And just to this day, I'm very comfortable with the platform I'm in right now. So I'm a certified career consultant, but I also facilitate workshop classes. So a little of my YouTube personality comes out when I'm facilitating because it's something I'm passionate about. But I would say that that's exactly what fueled it, because I didn't want to feel like handicapped by corporate America to say that I'm under, a corporation's rules. And basically, this is my only means. I had to invent myself, and I'm still doing that to this day to figure out the next step. That's one thing about myself, Angela, is that I'm always just forward thinking with ideas. What can I do? What's new for 2023? Where is this going to take me? Just so that I can kind of, exhaust all avenues when it comes to, bringing in revenue, streams of different income from other places. So I'm not solely dependent on corporate America. So I don't want people to ever feel like that they have me, at their leisure to use me how they see fit. I need to make sure that it's reversed and it's the other way around so that people can see that I truly am a valuable asset. To which it was expressed when I came back that I was sorely missed, greatly missed on so many different levels. But I would say, to get back to your question, that it was a high percentage just from watching what my mom has gone through and what I have endured and encountered as well. So I'm still striving for, more of the entrepreneurial side, if you will.
Yeah, well, I noticed how you kind of giggled a little bit when you said when you did return, you were so sorely missed. How does
Yeah,
that feel to know
it
that?
feels great. One thing I can say is that my colleagues are really good at expressing it. If nothing else, where I am in my life, and Angela, I'm 46. So where I am right now is I'm in a better place today than I was 20 years ago. So it does feel good to have, colleagues to acknowledge your valuable assets and to use your strengths in reference to that. And I always try to be, humble about it, whatever the case is. But to hear it, to see it in all caps in the emails, it feels good.
And it reminds me of how I started the show with the dedication that Michelle Obama had in her book, The Light We Carry. Is to all those who use their light to make sure that others feel seen. Of just in that moment when you reflected and you thought about how sorely you were missed and someone shared that with you, the look on your face, it was meaningful to know that. And so often we don't take the time to let others know that that's the case, and we don't receive it. And I think it's really incredibly important. It doesn't take a lot of time or effort or energy to do it, but if you can just use your platform to shine the light on others in simple and subtle ways, it could be meaningful years later and can show up. Yeah.
Most definitely. One thing that I'm looking to do more of in 2023 is to do more collaborations. So I know that there is one vegan food YouTuber, actually, she's African American. She just moved to the East Coast. She wants to collaborate. And someone else made mention. So it's taking that time, being in the moment, reaching out to say, hey, let's do a collaboration. There is a African American travel blogger who wants to collaborate with me and wanted to wait to got back from Europe. So yeah, just shining the light on others, because I feel like we're in this together, and we're strong, in the masses, as you already know, Angela. So there's not one person that's doing all of this and just exuding all of this brightness and light.
Yes, yes. When you talked about your recent trip to Europe, and I see a lot more of my peers and friends endeavoring to travel. I think inside of COVID, right, where we weren't able to do so, many of us recognize how important travel and experiencing different cultures are to us. I'm curious for you, as a vlogger, as a journalist, and as a Black woman, as you're traveling, what are you learning about yourself? How are you being seen by others in all of these different cultures that you're experiencing?
That is a great loaded question. So what I am learning about myself is to just not put any, specific labels tied to myself, Angela, because I'm steadily and currently evolving. And my travels, I just came back from 5 countries, visiting 5 countries across 8 cities in Europe. So I went back to Spain, and I know that you love Spain.
Yes.
So I touch point, went back to Barcelona, but in addition, I went to visit the Canary Islands, Valencia, and Seville. Yeah. And I went specifically to Seville for Valencia, because of the mosaic art designs. I'm really huge in art and architecture. So I love it. And I'm a history buff. Went to Italy just to simply take in some vegan gelato at Trevi Fountain and to people watch. It's the little for me.
Yes.
Went to Croatia, Dubrovnik, Croatia, to celebrate my sister's birthday, who was already traveling throughout Europe for a month. And then I went to Lisbon, Portugal, and then Brussels, Belgium, to take in a vegan Belgian waffle. So there are so many people that seem to be astounded in a good way, great way, actually, to see a woman of color traveling to destinations that you don't necessarily hear or see. We're everywhere. First of all, let me just say that. So when I was in Brussels, Belgium, Wakanda Forever came out, and there were Africans everywhere saying Wakanda Forever on the train. We were coming like in heaps. And I'm like, to me, it's like, I'm not surprised. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
But to see an African American person, and then I was traveling solo, they're like, oh my goodness, you're by yourself. You're not with your husband. And I'm like, because we have an understanding. He and I travel to certain places together, but he also respects the fact that I like to travel to certain destinations. And I like to just kind of, unwind and just to kind of learn more about me. So basically, people seem so inspired when they actually meet me there. I'm vegan and I'm looking to share out history and culture, which I've done on all my platforms. I've been told that I'm very bubbly and have an effervescent personality, so they tend to gravitate towards me, which I received so many complimentary meals, Angela, when I was in Europe, and I wasn't looking for it.
Right.
Yeah, people were helping me find my hotel when the offline map actually stopped working, and they actually walked with me and then didn't want anything from me. So I've had some people say, you are a fresh of breath air, you're, motivation for me to keep going. And so this is coming from other individuals. It just when I'm traveling out. So it's been phenomenal in that regard. And I'm continuously learning about myself in the process. And one thing that my mom has always told me from the beginning, very beginning, never judge everyone, collectively, judge them individually, how they treat you.
Yes.
And I go in with that open mind. It doesn't take away from things that have happened in history to, more recent movements with racial injustice or anything else. But it's just to know that treat them individually until a person gives you a reason to, see them a little bit differently. So I try to go in with an open mind any and everywhere that I go.
Well, you had me at vegan gelato by Trevi Fountain. That is the next thing I'm adding to my must-do list here in the next 5 years. That's first gelato, Trevi Fountain. I agree with you. The history, the architecture that we find as we're traveling abroad is just amazing to see. And for me, travel helps me to understand myself better,
Mm-hmm.
and to see myself in other spaces, and to meet people that you start to appreciate who you are, your journey and your story, as you learn about others' stories and their journey as well. What has travel unlocked for you?
Along those lines, exactly. So I was in Portugal and I was doing a tour of Pina Palace, and I met this Croatian family on this tour. I'm on this tour by myself. I booked through TripAdvisor. And the woman and I, we were so similar. She just was from Croatia. I'm from the States. And we had similar sentiments. And she had been to Las Vegas. We bonded and I received an invitation to come to her and her husband's house next year, actually in Croatia, Angela.
Oh, wow.
When you travel, at least for me, basically you're no different than anyone else. It's just you can't speak maybe the language fluently, or there's like different cultural, barriers. But aside from that, you're the same person. You experience like the same different things. People want to be able to travel. I've met so many different people. So what it unlocks for me, like you did say, is I do learn more about myself. I learn more about patience and being in the now and taking in what is around me, and continuously to network and continuously to increase my professional brand to people so that they know who I am, and to tell my story and not be afraid to tell my story, because people want to know and they want to listen. And so it's interesting enough, several of my new European friends, they are on my YouTube channel, following me, waiting for their episode to be featured, so their spotlight.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, we are learning so much about ourselves and taking a journey around the world with Nicole Ellis, a vegan food and travel blogger who has had an amazing journey and has already impacted me about my lifestyle choices and things that I need to consider moving forward. We're going to continue in this conversation with Nicole here in a moment on the Back Nine. We'll be right back on Unlocking the Club with Nicole Ellis. Welcome back to Unlocking the Club. I'm your host, Angela Taylor. I'm here with our special guest today, Nicole Ellis, and we're going to talk a little bit on the back nine, find out a little bit more about who Nicole is, what she enjoys doing, and how she's having an impact in her communities. Nicole, you've talked a lot about your love and passion for travel. When you actually are at home, besides your own home, what's the place that you feel safest to be yourself?
Did you say besides my own home?
Mm-hmm.
The safest place? Oh, actually, it's the gym. I know that sounds so prepared, but it's not. It's where I'm able to go at different hours of the evening to the gym. I'm able to sweat. I'm able to cry if I'm angry about something because I have my headphones on. I'm able to get it out and I zone out, Angela, and it makes me feel, comfortable. If it makes me feel like I am at home, I can cry, I can scream, I can vent, I can do whatever it is that I need to do. And when I walk out, I can woosah and I can reset myself.
Yes, no, I totally get that. Like for me, I have to work out in the morning. It actually sets the guardrails to my day,
Mhm.
and it's become something that I don't always enjoy working out, but I enjoy the feeling I have while I'm working out and afterwards for sure. And I wonder for you, you talked a little about that. It may feel like the kind of canned answer or response. Do you also feel a little bit of apprehension of sharing your joy of working out? And why is that the case if it is?
Not at all. Not at all. Because again, I came from a world where working out was non-existent. I didn't even know what that was, or I would laugh when someone asked me to. And now it's a part of my, weekly regimen just because it goes hand in hand with my vegan food lifestyle. So I've learned how working out makes my body feel better. I get more energy to keep pushing and to keep going with being a certified career consultant, cooking on YouTube, being a personality, and I do all of my edits, by the way, Angela, on YouTube. So that takes time within itself. But
Yeah.
then prepping for people. So not at all.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're pointing to is what you have been noticing with your change in your diet as well as your passion for working out is how you actually feel. And I
Mhm.
think so often for Black women, we ignore how we're truly feeling because we're prioritizing everyone and everything else. We want to make sure our kids or our parents or our friends and family members or our coworkers are fine, or that they
Mhm.
have that cup of soup that they need maybe when they are feeling sick. But we don't do the same thing for ourselves. And so I appreciate that you are noticing the things that make you feel like you're flourishing.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you, Angela. And that's so important. Like my husband, he understand. He saw me, come back. He picked me up from the airport, and he said, "You look rejuvenated." And he knows that that's what I need in order for me to be a better wife, a better partner to him, to provide to him. I need to take time out for myself. Self care and self love, they're everything to me. And that's for anyone else. So if like my mom says, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. How can you help anyone? So.
Absolutely. Well, you've talked about that you're not afraid to fail and try again. I wonder for you, is there a situation that you walk into with a little bit of trepidation every time?
It's a great question. I think it's my videos, honestly, Angela. I think it's, I walk in with trepidation when I'm creating videos to say, am I giving the people what they want? Is my content good enough? Are they going to like it? Are they going to share it? Are they going to make comments? Are they going to be like, are they going to fast forward to the very end?
Mm.
So I always walk and move in with trepidation, wondering. So I get to the point where I have to make sure that it doesn't stifle my movement and to put my best foot forward as much as possible, learn about more of SEO, search engine optimization, and learning from other individuals, not being afraid to fail. But I think that that's what I'm always thinking. I'm second guessing in the back of my head. Is this going to be a good enough video? Should I put it out or not?
Yeah, because sometimes the best ideas aren't seen or heard. And the fear can often be, something when you have a gem and a pearl and a nugget that so many people will benefit from, you want to make sure, right, that they receive it in the way that it's intended and that they get the message that you want. And so I completely understand and actually relate to that sentiment. What is something, you're on all these different social media channels, you're putting yourself out there. What is something about yourself that you refuse to hide?
I refuse to hide my before pictures where I was a size 22. I have a vulnerable, I put myself out there to be vulnerable. So if you look on YouTube, if you go on TikTok, my very first video, I believe it was the very first one, shows I was a size 22. I had discolored skin. I really put myself out there, oily skin, to the point where people are like, that was you. And then they try to straighten up their face. And I'm like, you're not hurting my feelings. It's okay. It's called transformation. So I have put myself out there. I refuse to hide it because I want people to know I didn't just end up here. I too have a story, and a lot of people can relate to. Someone just like that story, and I put it out maybe a year or so ago. It has over 3,800 hits, I believe it does. So it's basically showing my before of who I was. I think we all have a past that we have to be able to not be afraid to share. Otherwise, how can people relate to who we are in the now and of today?
Yeah, that's so profound. In the Instagram world, where we only put out the perfection that we seek, none of us are perfect. And
None.
one of our previous guests, Shantara Hardy, says, and it rings true, and it just resonates with me so often, is that perfection is expensive.
Very much so. Very much so. If you go on my Instagram, you'll see one of my most recent TikTok videos that I share, Angela. I was literally working out, exercising and stretching on the plane coming back to Barcelona. No makeup, matted hair. My hair was everywhere. I had a mask on, and I showed people that. And there was majority of my videos and pictures, I didn't wear any makeup. So I want people to see me. Even one of my YouTube videos in Croatia with my sister, I'm sweating. I want people to know I'm not perfect. And basically, like she did say, your previous guest, basically perfection is expensive, and it's exhausting.
Yeah. And we're all human. What
Yeah.
do you think? How are we going to overcome this desire to not want to put yourself out there and to just demonstrate where you're not good or where you fail? Like what will be required for that to actually be something that not just you are undertaking, but that we as a society are okay with?
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, again, we have this Instagram world where we just are compelled to show that we're perfect. We want the perfect family, the perfect lifestyle, we have the perfect outfits on, we have the perfect job, our kids are perfect, all of those different things. And it's not healthy.
Yeah.
Because what you've just pointed out is we're human. So we sweat, we cry, we don't look perfect in the morning, our breath smells, like all of those different things. Like what will be required for us to be okay with showing up that way? You're modeling it, and I'm sure people around you, your sister, others, are like, wait, maybe I can do that as well. What will be required to close that gap?
Yeah, tapping into your own self and learning more about you. Tapping into learning more about who you are, what you like, and staying true to it, and not comparing yourself to the social media influencers and the models who also, are not perfect, and they actually get their stretch marks and things like that covered up, or whatever the case is. They have blemishes. Not comparing ourselves to other people, tapping in and listening to your body triggers to say that I can't do this today. I think as soon as you're able to take ownership for that and to tap into your true, authenticity, then you're on the path to learning more about yourself to say, it's okay to say, no, I'm not going to go here. No, I don't feel like doing this. And it's even more invigorating when you're in your 40s, Angela, because something happens where you don't really care about what people say or think about you. The power of no is absolutely beautiful.
Yes, it's the best thing you can ever learn. You'll say yes to yourself when you learn how to say no. And I think that so often we're socialized around media messages, and the media would have it say that there's someone who is pretty, here's someone who's smart, here's someone who, whatever the bar or the standard they think it is, which oftentimes is dominant culture, right? And it's incumbent on us to show up differently as individuals, but collectively to do exactly what Michelle Obama is saying in her book, shine the light on somebody else. So shine the light on Nicole Ellis for being herself on that plane as she's shooting a video, right? And not worried about how she looks, but knowing that the message will be even more important than how it's being delivered.
Yes, and the message on that video on the plane was to get up and move. When you're on a 12-hour flight, you want to keep the blood pumping and flowing so that you can avoid blood clots at all costs.
Travel tip right there. Ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
That's a key travel tip for sure. Well, there's so many things that you are doing and doing well. What is your superpower?
I think so many people ask that, and I still wonder that to myself. Angela, the only way I know that I keep going, my superpower is my faith. It's my faith. It's my faith in God that keeps me going. The times that I doubt myself, the times that I get discouraged, it's me reading my word. It's others tapping back into me in life that God is sitting in my path because he knows that I've been crying out. That's my superpower to keep me going. And that's where my strength comes from, is from Lord and my faith.
Yes.
That's it.
That's beautiful. Having faith in yourself and others, in the higher power, for sure. And when you look at what's happening around this world, having faith is required. But I wonder for you, in all the spaces that you're navigating, what's a story that needs to be told?
Wow. I love that question. I think for me, the story is, it's going to be centered back about to my health. Basically, the story is going to be knowing, because of almost 4 decades, I've eaten unhealthy. Knowing when to listen to the body, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, basically being cognizant to those different triggers. It's going to tell a story about how you live. Are you living a righteous life? Are you treating people well? Are you putting your best foot forward? Like you said, are you shining light on someone else? Are you making a difference? What is your impact? So I think it comes full circle, that story, when you sit and pause and take the time to listen to everything, the key indicators from your body, from how people are responding or not responding from when you're talking and engaging with them. That is what your story is really going to be about. And then just doing a self-assessment, looking and tapping into who you once were, maybe 2 years ago,
Yes.
at the beginning of the pandemic, to now. I say this all the time with my clients, basically. Where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself 3 to 6 months from now? What type of changes and what type of steps are you taking, or initiatives are you driving to make that happen? So for me, it's no different than telling a story professionally or personally. I hope I answered your question.
You did. You're spot on. And your story needs to be told, because right now in this country, healthcare is reactive. You're responding to your body shutting down.
Yes.
And that changed your lifestyle. How can we pivot and make our choices more proactive for our health? So listening to Nikki, going to your YouTube page, paying attention to your recipes, trying them out before you have to make a diet change. Like, start incorporating this into your lifestyle now before you think you need it or you have to have it, I think is a story that we need to talk about, is because our healthcare system isn't going to do that for us. We're going to have to take charge ourselves and prioritize it on our own and for our families.
Most definitely. And if we listen closer to our family and friends that have unfortunately encountered certain ailments, that is beginning our stories too, by researching and finding out, basically from maybe a natural holistic standpoint, what actually can help the body, like you said, before it gets out of hand. People think it's so expensive to eat vegan food, but it's more expensive to end up into the hospital.
That's a word right there. It is more expensive to end up in the hospital than it is to change your diet today.
Yes.
Well, when you're at your best, Nikki, however you would define being at your best, what's true for you?
When I'm at my best and I can wake up with a clear mind, I am smiling for no reason, Angela. No person or no circumstance is allowing me to smile, but I am just at peace with myself. I am able to have a positive word, because I truly believe whatever positive nuggets go into your mindset for the day, in the beginning of the day, it sets the tone for the rest of the day. So I feel like that those are my deciding factors to determine, the type of person I am, the type of day that I'm going to have. So yeah, it just sets the tone.
No, that's great. Well, and what's a club that you claim as your own?
It's a great question. Club that I claim as my own. I don't know if it's the vegan club, is the travel club, is the marriage club.
Yeah. All of the above, right? Like, you are creating your own club. Yeah.
I would say, the exercise club, the things that really mean the most important to me. Yeah.
Well, what I hear from that is something that I'm discovering through these conversations, and you, as well as the guests that have come before you, are giving me a gift of understanding that so often we stress ourselves out to try to fit into another club, right? The square peg into a round hole, where all we have to do is start to notice and recognize where we are authentically ourselves. And for you, that is the marriage club. It is the travel club. It is the vegan club. It is the workout club. It is the church and faith club. Right? That is the club that you can claim as your own. And there's a lot of people that want to be in that club.
Yeah, and that's where I get my most peace, Angela. So I stopped trying to fit into other clubs when I was in college, actually. So for me, I stand alone. I'm not in any sororities or fraternities, and not to take away from it, but I stand on my own. So many people think, I thought you would have been in, a Delta or AKA. I'm like, no, I'm a NKE, Nicole Kimberly Ellis. That's what I am.
I love it. So NKE, so how in college did you have that clarity?
Because I saw things that just didn't stand for me. I saw, unfortunately, people that I thought I once knew and what they were about prior to joining the sorority and fraternity. It's not to say it's a bad thing. I just feel like maybe at that time, they allowed the influences of others to kind of change their personality and who they were and to stand true. And I didn't want anyone to compromise that for me.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, so many of us want to be in your orbits and to continue to follow the amazing work that you're doing and the journey that you're on. So please share with our listeners and viewers, where can they find you? And what are some special projects that you're currently working on?
Most definitely. So you all can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for Nikki's Savory Vegan Eats. So that's NICKY''S Savory Vegan Eats. So if you look me up on Google, you'll find me. YouTube, you can find me under Nikki's Savory Vegan Eats. And the beautiful thing about YouTube is on my cover page, it will link you to all of those mentioned platforms. So some of the projects that I am working on, I actually received someone who contacted me today, and they're looking to do a collaboration so I can feature their new business within Las Vegas on my platforms. And as I mentioned to you, Angela, I'm looking to do a few collaborations with a couple of African-American vegan food and travel influencers going into 2023. I am also looking to potentially work on a cookbook into 2023 as well for beginners for Savory Vegan Eats. So stay tuned for that. And maybe a couple of other projects and sprinkling a little bit travel in between.
Wow, you are a busy woman, and we are going to be the better for it. Nicole Ellis, thank you so much for joining us here on Unlocking the Club. Like, I am going to be literally today checking out your YouTube channel. I can't wait to see if you come out with a cookbook, because I'm going to need it in my kitchen. In my other cookbooks I will set aside, because this is something that my family and I need to definitely pay attention to. But thank you for sharing your story and the journey that you've been on, which has led you to having such a profound and dynamic impact with all of the work that you're doing.
Thank you so very much, Angela. It was definitely a pleasure pulling up with you. I have enjoyed this interview and this time learning a little bit more about your platform, and I just can't thank you again. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikki. I am honored that we met in 2018 when you came up to Boise, Idaho, and again, look forward to following what you have moving forward.
Thank you.
Wow, another great conversation with Nicole Ellis. So many things to unpack there, but I think the main thing is our diets. We're coming to you right now in the midst of the holiday season. Many of us just had Native American Heritage Month celebrations or Thanksgiving celebrations, and are going to have a lot of holiday parties to attend, as well as our Christmas and New Year's functions. What can you do to make sure that you and your loved ones pay attention and focus on and prioritize their health as we put together some extraordinary menus and gather together to celebrate life and love and family and heritage? Nikki's Savory Vegan Eats is something that I'm going to consider starting to infuse into my regular diet, and certainly into the upcoming holiday season. So grateful to Nicole Ellis for sharing her story. It really resonated with me that literally in the hospital bed, she pivoted and made a decision to change her diet. And that decision she made, that God wink, is going to have a positive impact on many of us who will be able to take a look at her meal prep options, as well as her YouTube channel and find some amazing recipes. So I hope you enjoyed today's conversation with Nicole Ellis. So many nuggets, from traveling as a Black woman to changing your diet to enjoying exercise. And these conversations will continue over on our Facebook page, because we're always talking about self-care and being in wellness. And we have Soul Food Sundays over there where we share recipes and menus. So if you're interested in being part of the ongoing conversation, please head on over to Facebook and join us on our Facebook page, the Code Breakers Lounge, and continue the discussion with us. For another episode of Unlocking the Club, I'm your host, Angela Taylor, eternally grateful for you for shining the light on the work that we're trying to do with our conversations with our guests, and look forward to being in the next conversation with you. Until then, and until our next episode, be well.
Thanks for listening to Unlocking the Club. If this conversation resonated with you, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or your favorite streaming platform so that you can experience every episode. And follow us on social media, where you'll hear about future guests, access special features, and connect with this amazing community. Head on over there and let us know how you are unlocking the club. Until next time, peace.